Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. The Ministry of Digital Transformation is in the process of developing the National Digital Transformation Strategy 2023 to 2026. Now, this strategy's approach is one of co-creation and stakeholder engagement. The public is invited to give comments or feedback on what digital transformation means to them and what you would like to see incorporated into the strategy in the national interest. Now, to speak a little more to this, we have Digital Transformation Advisor at the Ministry of Digital Transformation, Devindra Ramnarine. Welcome, Mr. Ramnarine. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. I want to start off because we're getting closer to the budget. So what exactly is a digital economy and how does it relate to the national economy?
Thanks very much, DK, for having me on this show and giving us the opportunity to explain a little bit about what we're planning to do on the digital economy side of the work that we're doing. So the digital economy is really part of a country's economy that's based on the economic activity that is generated or arising from all of our investments in technology. So once we start connecting government to citizens, government to business, business to business, using digital technology, computers, mobile phones, networks, and that starts to allow us to connect and share things, improve supply chains, that has an impact on the economy itself. We know, for example, from work done by the World Bank, that the digital economy, and that's the global digital economy, is roughly about 15.5% of the global GDP. And it's growing about 2.5 times faster than the general global GDP itself over the last 15 years. So consistently, the digital economy is becoming a bigger and bigger contributor to the national GDP of a country. Now, we know that GDP is a measure of economic activity in the country. It's a measure of the country's economic health. It's how good the country is doing. And we know, for example, the GDP per capita is a measure of the economic prosperity of the country. So if we grow the economy of the country through the digital economy side, then we're going to have hopefully a very positive impact on the overall prosperity of the nation and the prosperity of the individuals who live here.
Mr. Ramnarine, answer the person who says, but digital means less people are needed. What is the focus on individuals within the local landscape and developing talent, both so that people can use the technology that is there as well as find opportunities for employment?
Yeah, so we have a multifaceted approach to address that. But in particular, we want the investments in the digital economy to diversify our economy a little bit away from oil and gas. And the thing that we have most in the country, the thing that we can rely on most, is the natural talent of our people. So a lot of what we're doing in the ministry and what we are facilitating as a government is to grow the capabilities of our local developers. So we do have a program called the Developers Hub. Now, independent of us, we have lots of individual developers and small teams that have been doing work overseas, local, building software, building systems, exporting it. What we haven't had in the past is government providing an intervention where we could pool those resources, grow it, give that pool of developers, small to micro enterprises, tools, techniques, sandboxes, support for mentorship, building export capabilities, helping people to grow themselves so that they could do more business. And through our Developers Hub, we also, as part of government, we want that Developers Hub to work in partnership with us because our ministry is a partnership ministry. We are staying very small and very slim, and we're using the private sector and the Developers Hub to add capacity to build out the systems. So we are going to facilitate the developers developing capabilities, which we hope will eventually lead to an export capability, and that will become a big contributor to moving the digital economy from currently the ICT sector 4% to 8%, which has been established by the Minister of Finance. So we're really focusing on building up the people and trying to get that system going. And together with all the investments we're doing in Wi-Fi, access centers, getting SMEs, getting businesses to digitalize themselves, because those investments themselves show improvement. So for example, we know from studies in Africa that a 10% increase in mobile penetration has been shown to lead to about 2.5% growth in GDP per capita. So that investment in itself, putting out technology and getting government services online, has its own impact. And we layer on top of that the talent of our people.
But I really appreciate the fact that you said, yes, there's going to be some hand-holding, but there's also the encouragement for people to digitalize themselves, because no one is an island, and we need to have a sort of partnership. It seems that is what you're saying. And with that in mind, though, what are some of those principles of partnerships? How important is it to the work that you are about at this point in time?
Yeah, so I think one of the new strategies that we are using as the Ministry of Digital Transformation is that we see as a core thing, we are a partnership agency, we are a partnership ministry, and therefore the private sector and the SME pool are part of everything that we do. We don't bring the private sector in after the fact. So let's say, for example, we're investing in a digital ecosystem that will allow us to validate identity cards when you present them. Right now, you have to eyeball them and say whether they're good. We'll have a piece of software that will connect to the right agency and say whether that's good or not. We are designing it so that the private sector, particularly the banks, the insurance companies, can use it from day one. So if you think about when you're trying to open a bank account and the issues you have around KYC, the things that we do for government, we are doing it for the private sector. So hopefully that becomes a lot easier. We're also doing another model because it's easy to say these things, but sometimes it's hard for a small business to imagine what the future could look like. So through our Connected Communities program, we're doing a program called Connected Arima. And the idea there is to layer a lot of digital technology in one space at one time and start showing citizens and businesses how digital technology can transform their lives. So that's public Wi-Fi, that's access centers, that's smart poles, that's mobile apps, that's apps that focus on the things that make Arima unique, Coco, First Nation, Parang, Pan, etc. And we start digitalizing the processes that support that, provide apps that meet the needs of the businesses and the folks who are going to use the businesses. And therefore, hopefully, Arima, through its revitalization, will start attracting a lot more people coming into the Lime on a Friday or a Saturday because it's the place to be. Those models, we were able to tell the rest of the community through digital, connected Scarborough, connected Port of Spain, connected Chaguanas, come and look at how Arima has done it. And we'll codify the experience and roll it out. And little by little, we'll build a connected Trinidad and Tobago. So together with the direct investments that we're doing in trying to train people, the building of government systems so it satisfies private sector needs, we're creating a replicable model so that small businesses can see and feel and touch it and understand when they put their services online, when they start taking cashless payments, people paying with their smartphones, when you link up your ecosystem so you can reorder from NAMDevco or the small farmer in Blanchie shares, this is how your business is transformed, and hopefully we'll get a big uptake.
And I really appreciate the fact that you're starting with a model, seeing how it is, looking at some of the gaps, fixing those, and then scaling it out, as opposed to say, yes, man, it's good. And then you realize after the fact. But we continue the conversation. When we return, we are looking at enabling growth through our digital economy, and we're doing so with Mr. Devindra Ramnarine at the Ministry of Digital Transformation. Stay with us. We return with more. Welcome back. We are speaking with Devindra Ramnarine, a digital transformation advisor, looking at what we can do with this digital economy. And Mr. Ramnarine, I'm glad that you already cited one source in terms of an increase in digital penetration by this amount will lead to this growth in GDP. Can you focus on that a little more, please? Because I can see some people saying, boy, they're spending a lot of money, boy. Where it is we're going to see it? How does it help us directly?
Yeah, so I think that's a valid question to be asked. So again, when we look at the investments in technology and what digital technology, if I focus on the government side first, the investments in the digital government agenda, what we do know from the experiences of other countries digital government runs more efficiently and a lot cheaper. Yeah, because it means that citizens can do a lot of transactions with government without leaving home. They save money. So from on the citizen side, from the business side, they don't have to come down to the Ministry of Trade to apply for export license. So they do that currently online through TT BizLink. Similarly, citizens can do more and more stuff from home. They're going to save money. The cost of end-to-end service delivery within the public service will start going down because instead of doing it manually, we'll be doing it digitally, and ministries will be able to communicate using the infrastructure that we put in, and therefore the cost of government is going to go down. So that in itself represents a massive savings, even if we take away all of the benefits of improved service quality and citizens getting a lot more free time and saving a lot of money on that side. What it also means is a lot of the routine things that our public officers do, because in our ministry, we view both the citizen, businesses, residents, visitors as our customer. We also view the public officers. Doing a lot of routine manual thing is perhaps not the best use of a public officer's time. If we take those things away from them and have the systems do that, the really value-added things, which is looking at the looking at the customer and giving them high-quality service and giving them customized and personalized service, that's where they can focus their attention. And therefore, what we see happening as well is that the public officer jobs become more enriched. It requires some retraining and refocusing. So investments will make things easier for citizens, take the cost of them doing the transaction. It will also bring the cost of digital government down. And therefore, if you do a business case, the value that we'll get both from citizens, businesses, and government is collectively is going to be positive. We're pretty sure of that because that's been the country experience.
Mr. Ramnarine, I'm very glad that you also talk about building capacity, because sometimes you get a new system to use and say, well, yeah, man, it working, use it, as opposed to saying, okay, well, this is how you use it, and carrying people through those incremental steps to optimize their ability, their capacity to use it. I also appreciate the fact that you're saying money saved or resources saved, because even thinking about things like paper, gas, can be used towards different ends. But take us through the Developers Hub a little more, thank you. How do people engage with that? What is some of the work that is happening with that specifically?
Yeah. So again, the Developers Hub, because it's foundational to our digital economy program, we have given a lot of thought to it. So we're using a layered approach. We're going to start small, and we operate pretty agile in the ministry in the sense that we don't try to take on everything. We do things in sprints, and after evaluating the 6 months experience, we keep adding more and more complexity on it, but hopefully in a way that meets the needs of the developers. So when we look at what the developers do, they don't necessarily have all the tools, all the ecosystems to build out things for export. One of the things we're going to do is through our ministry, we're going to build that capability, and those who come onto the Developers Hub will get access to it. We also recognize that training is expensive. Yeah, so if we're going to curate a lot of training, and we're working with a lot of partners like the Linux Foundation, Microsoft, Cisco, where curated content. So perhaps if you just enter secondary school and you want to make some money on the side developing software, there's a curated training program for you. You're a public officer or somebody who's a little bit older and want to get an alternate career, there's a path for you to get training. You're a developer and you want to specialize in an area, there's a path for you to get training. So we're building capacity. We also have started to talk to some people in the US and other parts of the world who are willing to mentor our developers. So if you want to export to the US, that's not necessarily trivial. There are issues about quality, security, etc. And these individuals are willing to mentor the right developers here to allow them to penetrate the export market. So we have that kind of capability. And then finally, one of the big things we're doing, when we purchase big systems going forward, the systems that our ministry purchase, we are saying to the vendors who we are asking to bid, we are going to do a lot of it ourselves, either through local resources, private sector agencies, iGov, TT, or the Developers Hub. So you realize that when you bid for the job, we're not paying you to do everything. We're paying you to train and build capacity, and our people are going to do it. And then thirdly, there are very niche areas where developers out there in the community are better than government, better than us. Either we don't have the skills or we don't have the time or the capability to do that, we'll outsource some of the jobs. So we're going to build capacity for you to work with government on government systems and adding to the ecosystems of services that are online. So you might have a tailored app for somebody living in Rancho Shares that's a little bit different from somebody living in Port of Spain, because the things you're interested in will be a little bit different. So those niches, those specific requirements, we can get the developers to do it. So we're building a capability that's a little bit specialized, but we feel that there will be a big demand of the Caribbean, small island states, developing countries. And with that niche expertise, we can now create that export capability, and government will then actively try and sell those services. We think in about 3 years, we should have about 1,200 developers within that hub who are really ready and raring to export. The idea is that they should grow, they should start becoming small businesses, hire more people, and we get a kind of an exponential growth in people in that business contributing to the ICT sector. It must be self-sustaining.
And one
So
of the
those are
things I
some of the things
appreciate about what it is you're saying, Mr. Ramnarine, is that at a time passed, or it's still happening, but you'd have someone build a capacity and then to market themselves, many times they need to physically leave. So you have this brain drain taking place. It seems as though this is something that can help mitigate that a little bit. I mean, it's a different product, but at the same time, you don't see these droves of people just leaving after building capacity, never to return or to return eventually. But in the final minute and a half that we have, how do people contribute to the National Digital Transformation Strategy? How do you suggest they do that?
Okay, so the National Digital Strategy is not a strategy for the ministry. It's not a strategy for government. It's a strategy for the entire country. So it's going to have 3 pillars in it. Digital society, the things that impact people, the things relating to access, affordability to technology, training. It's going to deal with the digital economy I just spoke about, and it's going to deal with digital government. So we really need, the plan pulls all of those things together. So we have a holistic approach that everybody can latch on to, believe in, and go in the same strategic direction. What we hope is that we do know that there are people out there with lots of good ideas, people who have been thinking about this for years, people who have been trying in the past and were not successful, and they have ideas that they want to share. We would encourage them to come onto our website, www.mdt.gov.tt, and tell us what ideas you have, what we have done wrong in the past. Not everything has to be positive, but we're hoping that even if you have something negative to say, you could give us advice on how you think we can fix it. We have an email address, transformtt@mdt.gov.tt, transformtt@mdt.gov.tt, or telephone 800-8826. Please call, please email us, please come on and give us your advice. This is your plan. We are the custodians of it, but ultimately the ministry is in the business of doing things for the people and the business of the country. If we don't succeed in meeting your needs, our minister has basically said we would have failed as a ministry, and we don't intend to fail. So we hope that you'll reach out with us and give us advice, project ideas, strategies, etc.
Devindra Ramnarine, advisor, digital transformation advisor at the Ministry of Digital Transformation. We want to thank you so much. And really, that last note is something that really resonates with me in the sense that it's for all of us. So let us do what we need to. So I want to thank you so much, sir. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been In Depth with me, Dike. Rostant. Thank you for joining us.